Ready? All right, welcome to week 2. You survived. I see happy faces, clear faces today. That's always fun on the second week. And I see less of you because I see skinnier versions of you now, which is good. That's good. That's what's supposed to happen. It's one of those terrible side effects, weight loss. You know, and if you don't need to lose a whole lot of weight, generally you won't lose a whole lot of weight. For me, I maybe lose 3 or 4 pounds, just enough to kind of get the edge off that I've kind of put on over a period of time. So we're in week 2. One of my favorite, there's a movie, and since we don't have internet here, I'll have to see if I can download it and play it next time, and maybe you have internet next time. It's a movie called 212, and it's one of my motivation things I've used for many years. And what it talks about is at 211, water's very hot. It's steaming. But at 212 degrees, it's boiling. So it's back to that 1 degree of change, which this whole program is based on, is the 1 degree of change. I'm a pilot. So when I fly, if my chart is off by 1 degree, where I want to go over a period of time, that 1 degree is going to take me into someplace I didn't want to go. So, you know, and with you going through the detox, when you make that 1 degree of change, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to correct some error. Because even when I fly, if I have a strong tailwind or if I have a strong side wind, I'm going to have to go in a different direction and have to fly into the wind at a kind of a crab formation so that I can get there and make my corrections along the way so that I can get there. I can't just fly straight there because the wind will blow me off course. So along this time, if you get blown off course, just modify and get back on again, okay? It's not the end of the world, but I really want you to kind of devote these 21 days. It's only 21 days to make that change. Okay, so this is one of my favorite little things, the 1 degree. So, you know, keep that in mind as we go. So only 2 more weeks, see? Now, in the beginning, when I tell people this, they don't believe me because by the first week, you're like going, what the heck am I doing here? And why am I doing this? And, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. By the week 2, you're like, you've got it under control, you're in cruise mode, you got your routine down, how to make your shake so it doesn't taste like dirt, and you've got all those things going on. And then by the 3rd week, you're going to go, oh, it's almost over, correct? Because there's something about us as humans. We need a plan, and we need accountability, and that's what I try to provide with this. Not that you can't do this on your own, but there's something about somebody saying, okay, you're going to have to step on that scale. So all week long, you're going to be a little bit better than you would be on your own if nobody's going to be looking over your shoulder on that scale, because somebody's actually going to see that. I won't post it on the internet, okay? I promise. All right. So Dr. Royal Lee, who was a dentist, he was the founder of Standard Process, and what he said was food has always been, I suspect will always be, the ideal source of your vitamins where they are surrounded by untold numbers of nutritional factors. He knew this back in the 1930s and 1940s. You know, the FDA was shutting him down because he was giving information. He studied with Weston Price, who was a dentist also, who did studies in the, I want to say the Amazon, that's not correct, but he did tribal studies on teeth of people in industrialized worlds and in, you know, primitive world, and how much better the primitive world their teeth were because of the nutrition they were getting. Once the processed foods were introduced into the system, then they were noticing teeth changes and arch changes and mouth changes, and it was quite incredible, and cavity increase. So Dr. Rowley has done a tremendous job for us. So from week, why don't you move over one so you can see a little bit better? I'm in your way. So diet 8 through 14, which is where we're going this next 2 weeks, the next second week. Same thing. Still no corn, beans, white potatoes. Still on page 13, 12, 11. Sorry, I haven't learned the new book all the way yet. Page 11, the same vegetables. There's no change in that. Same as fruits. Remember the rule: two times as many fruits as veggies as fruits, especially if you're trying to lose weight. And like I said, I just kind of reserve my fruits for my shake. I don't eat a lot of extra. If I only have 1 shake a day, I may have a fruit or apple or maybe some frozen blueberries or some frozen fruit at night for just a snack, if I feel like I need something. So same thing, you know, did anybody try any of the recipes in the book? The peach one is really good. And what about in this book? I have one of my patients who's charting this. And she's doing the recipes out of here, and she's blogging on the our private group, so it's kind of cool. I'm also doing a blog about this because everybody asks me, has questions or worried about it, and they don't think they can do it. So if you go to the website, and at the top right, there's a thing that says blog. So I'm just kind of blog about it. I have a couple patients that I have one that's recording a blog. I have a male and a female. My patient X he's been kind of keeping tabs on everything so that I can, make some history on him. And then my other patient who's doing some blogging. She's a writer, so it should be pretty good. I'm not such a good writer, but I had fun doing it. So I'm going to kind of record each week the response from the groups, the difference in the groups, and the successes and the failures, hopefully low on the failures. Water again, mineral water, green tea, or herbal tea. No wine yet. And then day 11, which day are you all on? You started on Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday? Everybody started Wednesday? Okay. So you should be on day 6, either 6 or 7. On day 11, you can have protein, so that'll be this weekend. And in your book on page, I believe it's page 13, at the bottom, it gives you your protein sources, how big they should be. And if you feel like you want it, go for it. If you don't feel like you need it, don't do it. For me, I feel that I do better detoxing-wise with the less animal protein. I think we do need protein in our diet. We think we need animal protein in our diet. We don't need as much as everybody thinks we need. About 30%, usually half your body weight in grams of protein. So that's what I usually go for. This will give you about that, maybe a little bit less. It depends on how you're doing your program. So when you get to your meats, try to get your fish wild, deep sea fish, your cold water fish, salmon, cod, sea bass. Chicken, try to get organic, free range. There's places you can get that. You can even get it at Sam's. One of my other group was telling me that they bought coconut oil this big, that's expelled all the good stuff for like $16, and it's like a 2-pound thing, which is great. I just don't get to Costco or that often, so I shop at Publix, and I'm not. Even though I'm dressing my Publix green tonight, I don't work for Publix. All right. So prepare your chicken or fish by broiling, baking, roasting, or poaching. No cured, smoked, or luncheon meats, because they're going to have a lot of chemicals in them, and we're trying to get that out of you. So now we're going to change this. So beginning day 8, once you finish your cleanse, you may have a few pills left over. Just throw them in the day 8. Your pills are going to be changed. You won't do any more SP cleanse. So what you will do is you'll still do your shakes, 2 to 3 a day. And if you're a male, you can do up to 5 a day if you feel like you need extra food. You'll start to notice as you go along that you don't need as much food because you're actually feeding yourself food that's actually providing nutrition. So you're not as hungry because your body's saying, oh, you're feeding me and I can use that food. When you're eating candy and sugar and stuff that's processed, then you eat it when you're hungry and your body says, okay, well, you didn't feed me, I'm still hungry, feed me more. So you eat more. So the nice thing about this, you're actually getting all the nutrients and your system is cleaned out. I'm sure we had some aliens that were removed this first week. When you went to the bathroom, you're like going, oh my, I didn't know that was in there. But once you get that kind of process going, you'll feel that a little bit cleaner there. So you'll still do 3 gastrofiber 3 times a day, but I'm going to tell you how to do it a little different. And 5 SP green food, which is the other bottle you have in your kit, 2 times a day, 10 capsules. So you're going from 30 to 19. You're going to feel like you're missing something. Okay, so here's how I do my pills. Instead of doing 3 gastrofiber 3 times a day, because I would miss the 3 middle ones, I just split the gastrofiber 5 in the morning, 4 at night, 5 SP green food in the morning, 5 SP green food at night, and no middle pills. Okay, still taken with a shake, or an hour before dinner, or 2 hours after dinner. So this is going to be not as acute. Like the first week, it was really acute and important that you didn't eat food with this. When you're on the green food, it's not as crucial. The SP cleanse, we really want that to work first and foremost and not get in the way within trying to digest food. So this is part of the phase of healing the liver. Also, this is the part where you start eliminating your toxins, your chemical toxins, your environmental toxins. Because we're not putting them in the foods anymore, but you still have leftover residual in there. Remember how the liver processes part of it. It's the toxic byproducts that you're eliminating now. So that's your rule. These are my actual pills. There's actually more of them than I normally take. I was being easy that day. Exercise. So I know maybe you were a little bit tired the first week, but that's hard on your body to detox. I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on your system. Some people handle it better than others. I don't change anything I do when I'm on the detox. I still continue to work out because I need to know what to report to patients. That yes, it can be done. You know, I've trained for a marathon. I've done everything on the detox. So, you know, whatever your limit is. I really recommend walking because it's great for lymph drainage. Yoga is great for lymph drainage also. Get a pedometer. I use it's called a Withings pulse, and it's a little tiny. I didn't wear it tonight, but it just talks to my phone, and I don't have to have it on. I don't have to wear a bracelet like the Fit, and it works for iPhone or Android. And it's pretty cool because it records and if you run, it'll tell you when you walk and when you run. It gives you your, all your detail throughout the week. So it's kind of a bonus to know when you've hit that 10,000. And that's your goal every day, 10,000 steps a day. So if you don't know or think you do 10,000 steps, you should measure it because you'll be shocked to see that you don't. My mother and my father, my mother hopefully won't see the YouTube because I'm going to narc on her, was talking to me and said, she goes, Kimberly Ann, and you know that's when she's serious because it's Kimberly Ann. She said, I just can't, I'm eating right and I just not losing any weight. I'm like, well, you need exercise. She goes, well, I am. I'm walking and I'm walking all the time at work. I'm like, no, you're not. She goes, well, yeah, I am. I said, okay. So I got them pedometers, got them set up, and I said, okay, you call me tonight when you get home from work and it'll tell me how many. Now, mind you, my parents are 80 and 76. They work part-time job, 1 week on, 1 week off. So it's not like they're, big executives. So she calls me at night and she says, you're right, Kimberly Ann. She goes, I only did 5,000 steps. I'm like, Mom, I said, it's 7 o'clock. I said, you better get busy. You got 6,000 more to go. So that just shows you, and like I said, we think we do, and we just sit so much. And sitting is the new smoking. That's the new lingo that's out there, that sitting causes more damage because our organs are compressed. So if you're sitting at work a lot, get up, move around. If you're sitting, that's where we pack it on. You start getting creases in parts of your body you didn't know you could crease because you're sitting so much. So get up, move around, get a desk. I saw in Inc. magazine, and I'm sure you can Google it, it's a desk that you can sit at, but you can also stand, and it just raises up so you can still type and do your stuff, but you can stand. I thought that's cool. They have them also hooked to treadmills and stationary bikes so you can get your workout all together. So exercise is really important. I really believe in doing a little bit every day. Gives you better success. For me, I do something every day. Some days I do weights and some cardio. Some days I just do weights. Some days I just do cardio. But I do something every day. If I feel like I'm tired or fatigued or I'm not feeling well, then I won't do anything that day, but it's okay. I missed a day. But if you're only working out 3 days a week and you miss a day, you've worked out only 2 days a week and you've got 5 days where you're just, relaxing. So I try to do a little something every day. And I also recommend starting first thing in the morning. Because at the end of your day, you're tired and you're going to drive home right past that gym. And by the time you get home, there's things you have to do. So if you get it done in the morning, it's done for the day. I started doing that probably 20 years ago, just because of the fact that way my schedule is, if I don't get it done in the morning, it's not going to happen. Once my day starts, it's not my day, it's somebody else's. So I just found that it's better, I'm fresher, and it gets me started for the day. Okay? Eating out. Now, you will come in times, I try to set this up like in October and in January, where it's in January before Super Bowl, and in October before the holidays and before Halloween, so, you don't make any mistakes. But if you have to go someplace, make a plan, have a strategy. I mean, if I go any place when we're on detox, I always make my own fresh guacamole, which is what we had yesterday watching the football game. I made fresh guacamole with my NutriBullet, and I used organic carrot chips. They're just cut like a ruffle cut, and I use those as my dipper. And I'll get you the vegetable recipe for the vegetable hummus. Dr. Cooper is supposed to bring that. She'll bring it next week. But, I use that. I take that with me, and you'd be surprised how many people eat it, especially when it's fresh. Because everybody brings canned salsa and fresh salsa is just so much, fresh guacamole is so much better. And if you have the NutriBullet, there's a recipe right in the book. It's just guacamole, onion, garlic, a little bit of lime juice, cilantro, and I throw a little bit of, I throw red pepper or cayenne pepper in anything, okay? Because it makes it look pretty. So, and go to the restaurants. In Winter Park, we're very lucky. We've got Ethos to try. You've got Whole Foods to try. You've got Nopa to try. You've got 118, Cafe 118, which is a raw restaurant. We're a little bit limited, but we do have a couple places in Eustis. So pick your restaurant that way. And here's the other thing. Don't go to your friends and say, well, I can't do that because I'm on a detox. And they'll look at you like, oh, why are you detoxing? One, they're jealous. Why are you losing weight? Two, they're jealous. And three, they're never going to understand because it takes some explaining to do that. So I learned that the first year that I did it. People really don't give a rat's patootie. But number two, then they're like, well, you don't need to lose weight. I'm like, well, that's not why we detox. So I just found it better to not even bring it up. And I just would, when I go to a restaurant, I just say, well, can I have chicken with maybe just some orange juice on top, or just steam it in some orange juice or onions and garlic, and they're happy to do that. And sometimes the chefs like to do different stuff anyway. In my bodybuilding days, I would go out and I would be cutting for a competition. And so I would go to a restaurant and my friends would, I'd order like a spinach salad and I'd have the egg and everything but the bacon. I'd have my own dressing on the side. And they're like, well, if we would have known that, we could have just taken you to Publix and got you a bag of spinach. Well, it's not that. I want somebody to serve me, I want to enjoy my meal too and be able to go out. And I have to do dishes afterwards. So, pack a cooler, especially if you're on the road or you're at work all day. Pack a little cooler or keep it in the refrigerator. Be planned, and ready to have an event happen where, for me, when I get hungry, I'm hungry right now. Not 10 minutes, right now. So I've got to have something ready. And so I try to do that. I try not to let myself get that way. But if I'm busy with patients, it's hard for me to stop and, sit back there and eat something when I know that Ruth's going crazy and the phone's ringing, the patients are all there. I'm not going to be sitting in the back doing that. I'm going to be taking care of you. So like I said, if you go to a social gathering, and I've been to weddings, and I was able to stay on the detox because they always have a veggie plate, they always have salmon, they always have a fruit plate. You can always do it. You just can't have the wine. Okay, just save the wine. It'll be there when you get done. So be creative. These are some of my own meals. This is the peach red onion basil salsa that's in the book, which is very good on a spinach salad. That was what I had for lunch. And this is a dinner. This is our first night on the detox. This was in January. Sweet potato, roasted veggies, asparagus fries, and I think the asparagus fry recipe's in there. The real thin little asparagus. Quinoa with some sun-dried. I get some organic sun-dried tomatoes. You just have to make sure they don't have a lot of junk on them. They're sometimes hard to find. You can get them. I think Whole Foods has them, and Chamberlain's may have them also. Trader Joe's. I don't know if it's going to be truly organic. Trader Joe's is really Aldi, so it's not as American as you might think. And this is what now I have to tell you, I was going to take a picture because I have a new refrigerator. So this is not this is my old refrigerator. So this is what it does look like when it's full, but I have a new stainless steel one. So, but it's just loaded, and we go through and get rid of stuff, and then we replenish about every 3 to 4 days. So yeah, our cheese is hiding here. That's after the detox. It's aged anyway, so it's not going to go bad.
You had wine in the last.
I did not. I did not. Stop. So how do we get this way? How do we get so toxic? We have poor eating habits. We eat under stress. That's our parasympathetic, function, where we think that that chocolate chip cookie, because it reminds us of grandmother making it, which gives us that stability, that safety there. Or, if we're upset, we want something crunchy, so we grab chips and that kind of thing. Just change your mind about that. Just have other things available. If you don't buy it and it's not in the house, I'm a lazy person. I'm not going to go out and get it. I would have to really be jonesing for something for me to get in the car and go get something. I just won't do that. And plus, I know too much, so I maybe stop at Publix and pick up some chopped vegetables or maybe an apple or something. That would be my, snack instead. So this is a big problem here, improper chewing of food. And if you don't break down your food, then your hydrochloric acid, which your body emits to help break the food down, won't be emitted as well because you eat too fast. It doesn't have time to, it's like, whoa, where'd it go? It hasn't even had time to know that you even ate because we wolf it down. So 32 times before swallowing, I know that's a little bit much. My dad, and those of you who were here last year, my dad was a Marine. And so my brothers would eat really fast, so he fixed that by we did a square meal. And a square meal was on his tune, you had to go with his, you bring your fork up, you bring your fork in, you take your bite, you set your fork down, you chew 28 times. You bring your fork up, you bring your fork in 28 times. We did that a couple times, but it's very memorable. But it really taught you to slow down and do, take pride in your food. For me, most people eat too fast, and we wolf a meal down. I mean, you go to a restaurant and people are on their phones eating, not even conscious of what they're eating. When I prepare food, I put my heart and soul into it. I put love into when I cook. And so when we sit down to eat, I want to take time and enjoy that. So when I think about, there's a guy named Walter Wattles that wrote a book called The Science of Getting Rich. And in that he talked about how gluttonous Americans are, which we are. And he said that, people are always trying to lose weight. Well, if we would slow down and think about, one, the farmer that spent, especially the organic farmer that spent his time and his dedication, his passion to grow that food, and that food, the people that it took to get it transported to you, and the time and love you do to prepare it and then put it on the plate. So what we do is we serve on smaller plates, and we take time and take a bite and set our fork down. Chew, talk about your day, enjoy the food, savor the flavor of it. Think about all those things. You get so much more out of your meal. It gives your hypothalamus time to say, oh, she's eaten, or he's eaten. Because the hypothalamus is not even having time to register. It's already down the hatch and the body's going, oh, what happened? And the same thing for the stomach. So your stomach is very acidic. And we have all these people having acid reflux because that stomach acid is coming back up. And it's because we eat too fast, we eat foods that are too spicy for us, and we need that stomach to be very acidic. Well, with the big problem today of acid reflux, we have people on Nexium and all the I can't think of all the omeprazole, what's all the other ones? The purple pills, Nexium? Yeah, so all those things are actually telling the body, hey, don't release any hydrochloric acid. Well, so now you're having all these people having leaky gut because they're not really breaking down their food. So we're having all these secondary problems from that. So what happens is for a patient, for me, that's coming in with acid reflux, you know what I do? I give them a plant-based hydrochloric acid. And when I do that, the body goes, oh my gosh, we've got too much hydrochloric acid. I don't need to produce anymore. Because when you take the pill and then you don't take it, then once you take the pill, you have to keep taking it. Because once you stop, then the hydrochloric acid starts coming back because it's been told not to do it for so long. Now it's like overkill. So we actually introduce the hydrochloric acid to reset the system so the body can work. The stomach has to be very acidic when we first eat the food to emulsify it. And then once it goes in the small intestine, it becomes very alkaline, because it has to be at a different pH for it to be absorbed. So if it's getting really acidic, or it's not acidic, it's not breaking down, so it's going in and the permeability is not prepared to take the food at the form it's in. So, it's a big misnomer when we hear all these pills. My favorite is, who's the guy that rides the purple Wave Runner? Larry the Cable Guy. Of course, he's catered to. When I see that commercial, it just cracks me up, yeah. Do this so you can eat all this crap. Awesome. That's job security for me. Also, I learned a long time ago, I'm not sure when I learned it. I think I may have learned it from my family. We never drank before meal. We either drank before a meal a little bit, or we would drink after a meal. Because if you go into a restaurant and watch, people put food in their mouth and they wash their food down. So they're diluting the hydrochloric acid, because they're in a hurry to talk or, text something or talk on the phone. They're not enjoying the meal. So that's a huge thing. So I learned that a long time ago, and like I said, I can only think about my parents, not doing that, and that's how I learned that. But, not drinking during meals. I mean, even if you drink, like when we're not on the detox, if you have a glass of wine, it's not like you chug it. You sip it to enjoy the flavor of the food, to enhance the food and enhance the flavor of the wine. That's the way it's supposed to be done. It's a beverage. It's not, you're not trying to medicate yourself. So, be careful with that. So, proper hydration, ounce of water for every 2 pounds of body weight. Whatever works for you. I mean, and I'll show you in just a minute, I'm an adrenal person, so I'm not a really thirsty person. If I'm thirsty, I drink. I eat a lot of vegetables. When I pulled the zucchini noodles that I made out for the dinner I prepared for you, I mean, I had to drain the water out because there was so much water. And like I said, my wok is like that big, and it was like through the top. I could barely turn it to get it to cook down. And then that's all. That was 7 zucchini in there. and then just kind of cook down neat and tidy. So, I get a lot of vegetables, you get a lot of water from your vegetables. So poor food choices, doing empty calorie processed carbohydrates, no fiber, and that doesn't support your gastrointestinal flora. People being allergic to foods, peanuts, wheat, gluten, dairy. I mean, you hear all about gluten-free and celiac disease. We didn't have that many years ago because we didn't have all the genetically modified foods we have today. All your wheat is genetically modified with a rare exception. I mean, Ezekiel bread is okay because it's sprouted. No, it's not okay in the detox, but it is sprouted, so it's a better for you. And I'm not sure, but I'm vaguely sure that it's heirloom wheat. And there's a place, wheat is only grown once a year. Well, they grow it year-round here. And, same thing with corn. It's genetically modified. They call it Roundup Ready because they change the DNA so that when they grow in the ground and they spray the Roundup to kill the weeds, the corn, like, you can't touch me. Well, we're eating the corn that has all that in there. And that's the whole idea. So there's a book called Pottinger's Cats, I don't know if Pottinger was a dentist also. There's a bunch of dentists that kind of understood that. But he did this whole thing with cats. And by third generation, what he did is he fed cats. He fed them their normal meal, a group of cats a normal meal, and a group of cats processed food. And by the third generation, their DNA was genetically changed. So they were having, all these problems, birth defects, brain issues, intestinal issues, and things like that. That's what we've done to our kids today. Not my kids. Everybody else's kids. But we didn't know, but now that we know better, you have to do better, okay? So processed meats are high in fat and preservatives, the nitrates, which is a chemical. And you don't go just pick a nitrate off the tree, okay? Lack of key vitamins, minerals leads to degradation of the GI tract and causes ill health. So if you're not absorbing your nutrients, I don't care how many vitamins you're taking, and most people are taking synthetic vitamins, so your body doesn't even register it. It just sends it through the hatch, and you've wasted your money and your time. That's one of the reasons why I'm so high on Standard Process. I know it sounds like I'm having a big love affair with them, but I did my research. As an athlete, I was a drug-free athlete. So I was very careful always what I put in my body. Well, when I was researching all the nutrients, most of the nutrients were synthetic, and it was like, why would I put that in myself? So I started researching, and I found Standard Process, and that's what I loved about them. So with doing the detox, that was really just key at what I'm passionate about. So, that's really important. So most of your food is depleted from A, C, B6, folic acid, B12, magnesium, zinc, calcium, phytonutrients, and antioxidants. That's processed food. That's why we want to eat foods that are nutrient-rich and fiber-dense. Most of our foods have no fiber and have no nutrients. And that's the cause of, ill health. So that's what I fix all day long. People come in and like, I just feel like crap. I don't know what's wrong. My blood's good. Doctor says I'm fine. Well, the doctor's, and I'm not saying bad about any, but the doctor's like going, well, job security, because I'm going to take care of that symptom, and then I'm going to give you a pill for the symptom that pill causes. Not that that's the way it should be. And I mean, doctors are learning too, so they're getting better at it. I mean, Karen, did you have vitamins in medical school? Mm-hmm. A lot?
No, did they talk about
it? No. Yeah. And what you learned on your own.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you have to.
Right. And I'm sure that for Karen, who's a dentist, I mean, you can tell me that you can tell the difference in patients who eat well and who don't eat well in their mouth and their cavities.
It has a huge effect on
Yeah.
the cavity.
Just the oral cavity, the gums, the bleeding of the gums, all these issues that will cause, infection in the mouth can cause heart problems. So they it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. It's there, and it's just trying to convince y'all to understand that and make some changes. Not that you have to be perfect, but make a change from now on. Oh, we are doing the zinc test. I'm so sorry. Okay. Will you get the zinc test?
I will get the zinc test.
So I'm going to tell you about the zinc test. So the zinc test, we're going to let you try this out because most of you shouldn't be too depleted. I mean, you'll be getting you're getting your vitamins in here now because of what we're giving you, but it's not going to make up for what you were already. All right. So probably the best way to do this is we'll pour it in about this much into a little cup, okay? And don't drink it until I tell you. You all did it? Did you do it last time?
I think so.
Okay, we'll let you do it again. Have you done it?
Twice.
Okay. So the zinc test is a good way. We're going to just give you less than a mil of zinc, zinc chelate. No, that's not, I can't remember which zinc that is. Let me just see. Go ahead, pull it out. You don't need the dropper. You can just open it and pour it. Well, I would read it if I could, but it's zinc, and it's not toxic. It's not going to kill you, and I'll explain how to do that. So we'll get that done in just a second here. Let's get you cups. Take a cup from the bottom and pass it around. And then Ruth will get you all poured up there. That doesn't have to be that much, just a little tiny bit. That's good. That's perfect. Just a little bit. Just splash it in the cup there. You could try it. Try it. You got to try it. You're here.
Okay. Thank you.
So don't put it in your mouth till I tell you. You got to try it.
Okay.
It doesn't taste like wine, okay?
A shot of zinc, please.
Yeah.
Or when?
When?
Yeah. Okay. One more. Karen, did you get some?
Smells like nothing.
Okay. All right. So everybody has their zinc. So go ahead and before you put it in your mouth, I want you to put it in your mouth. Don't do it yet. Put it in your mouth and just kind of swish it around and then swallow it. I mean, swish it around for about 30 seconds. Get it in there and then swallow it, okay? Go ahead. Hold it in there, swish it around. If you don't want to swallow it, you can spit it back in the cup. Wimp it. That'd be, I'd have to call you wimp then. Okay, go ahead and swallow it. All right. Well, what'd you think?
Our teeth gonna be a different color?
No, no, I wouldn't do that to you. I love y'all too much. Come on. So, what do you think?
Metallic-y, I don't know.
Strong, light. So here's your response.
Water to me.
No taste, severe deficiency. So, and I wouldn't do anything to support you until after the detox, because we're stripping you out anyway. But you are getting enough zinc that should help you. This is just telling you how severe you are. If you had a slight taste or delayed slight taste, it's a deficiency. Moderate, unpleasant taste, and nobody had that and nobody had this one because usually, like when I do it, it's like, oh my gosh, and so I stopped doing it with my group because then they're like going, oh yeah, I tasted that. I'm like, no, you didn't. I take a zinc. I use a zinc chelate or chelate, however you want to call it, tomato. So there's some things we can do. But that's kind of an interesting experiment because a lot of people think their stuff they're taking is good, but it's not enough. All right. So I put this in here. This is 4 body weights, body and weight loss types. And so you get to see who you are in here. And this is by Dr. Eric Berg, and you can go to his website, drberg.com. So we have several types. We have 4. This is the liver type. You're going to find this not just in men, but it's the kind of the pot belly, relatively lean every place else. And they're going to be bloated after meals. They're going to have cravings for fried foods. They'll be tired and stiff in the morning. Tired, stiff joints in the morning. They need to avoid these particular foods, which they need to avoid anyway, not just because they're a liver type. And then, servings of meat, some organic eggs, some nuts, no peanuts. Peanuts are a trash nut. It's a high in omega-6, which is a very inflammatory to the body. So your walnuts and your pecans and your pecans and your cashews and your almonds and your macadamia nuts are really good. And then 5+ of the cruciferous veggies. Adrenal type, this is me. Craves salt, retains water, unable to rest at night, tired around 10, 2, and 4, stomach loose and hang. Well, I'm not that bad. And I don't have a hump of fat over my shoulders, but it's possible. So, we want to especially stay away from these things too, because what happens with an adrenal type is your circadian rhythm is off. And about everybody in here can be a little bit of an adrenal type. What happens is your cortisol should kick in the morning as your day goes, and as the nighttime comes, it should go away, and you should be able to sleep and rest, and then in the morning it should come back up again. Well, most people, it's up at night and down during the day, so they wake up and they're wasted, tired, they can't pick their head up off the pillow, and about 1 o'clock in the morning they wake up, bing, and can't get back to sleep. That doesn't work. So then what they do is they get in this rat race. This is why we take stimulants out of the detox. They wake up, they're tired, they medicate with coffee. Mid-morning they're tired, they medicate with coffee. end of the day, they're tired, they medicate with coffee, and then they can't sleep at night because they've had stimulants all day, and then that really wreaks, havoc on their whole system. So for, this type person, and, you don't have to look like that, but it'll be somebody that'll be more, this type person, it'll carry the weight a little bit lower. Smaller meals, raw nuts between meals. This is what I do a lot when not on the detox. Like I said, that's between the two things that I miss the most are my nuts and my wine. Not that I drink that much, I just like the flavor of it. Sea salt, and I don't do this. And for me, I only drink when I'm thirsty. I don't overdrink. And adrenal type patients, it's like you don't even like the taste of water sometimes. I know that sounds weird, but you don't even like the taste of water. So you can really tell if you're a really scary adrenal type. Thyroid type. Weight is more evenly distributed, cold extremities, craves bread and sugar, tired all the time, and dry skin. So definitely overeating, because if it's a thyroid issue already, we're going to have trouble with weight. The other thing I look at in patients, I tend to attract what I am, so I have a lot of adrenal patients, and then that draws a lot of thyroid patients, which are really adrenal patients that have not been treated. So my thyroid patients are taking Synthroid because nobody bothered to check their adrenals, so they're taking care of the symptom but not fixing the problem. Because your adrenals feed your thyroid feeds into the pituitary feeds in, the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus does the pituitary, and pituitary says, oh, you need some adrenaline? Oh, you need some cortisol? Oh, you need some T8, some T3, T4? So if that system is off, then the body's not working properly. So this person in particular wants a lot of veggies. You have to steam your cruciferous vegetables. In raw veggies, it creates a plant sterol, an estrasterol. That's not exactly right. I got to look that up again. I can't remember the exact spelling of it. But it simulates a hormone in the body. So it kind of freaks the body out, and it makes the body, throw the thyroid off. So that thyroid type is not going to want to do a lot of, they can steam them, but you don't want to do them raw. A few raw, but I would need a whole head of broccoli raw. And cruciferous are like your broccolis, your crunchy green vegetables are more your cruciferous type vegetables. Raw nuts between meals, remember that's going to support your blood sugar. They would give diabetic, orange juice and sugar when they were diabetic, but really if you could teach the diabetic person to eat protein and keep their blood sugar more level, that would be smarter in the long run. Otherwise, the orange juice or the sugar would throw it up and throw it back down and cause problems. Lentils, beans, a third of the vegetable consumption. That helps to kind of balance out their cruciferous vegetables and helps to balance out the hormones in their system. 25 grams of protein per day because their metabolisms are a little bit slower, so they don't want to do too much. So like I said, I usually recommend about half your body weight in grams of protein. So I weigh 130, so 65 grams of protein is about what I get in a day, which works out to be about 30% of my calories. They'll want a little bit less. Light on fats, only healthy fats, which you already have in your book. Organic meat and dairy, very, very important, because if they're getting dairy over the counter or meat over the counter, it's loaded with hormones. So that's how they make milk. A female cow just doesn't make milk because she's making milk. She's making milk because she thinks she's pregnant or has had a baby. And so they're making them do that. So that's why when you get organic milk, it's different because they're capturing milk on a cycle, and they're doing it naturally. These diets that involve getting shots of HCG, which is actually pregnant horse urine, and people are injecting that, and they're like, I want to do your detox because I don't know, I can handle that. I'm not really toxic. I'm like, okay, just go ahead and get another shot of pregnant horse urine. And they keep these mares in foal all the time, so it's not healthy for the mares either. So, and people are injecting that. Whoever got that idea, I'm not sure. We use it. I didn't. In bodybuilding, because I in my strength athlete, I was always drug free, but I was trained with all the guys that did. And when they cycle their steroids, if they don't go off their cycle, same thing with the hydrochloric acid. If they take too many steroids, male hormones, then the body says, "Oh, I've got too much. I'm going to stop making male hormones, and I'm going to start making female hormones, which we all have male and female hormones. I'm going to start making more female hormones to balance that out because it's way too high." So before they figured all this out, that's where you hear these guys, the term is bitch tits, where the guys will actually get breasts, and other parts will get smaller because the estrogen gets a surge in their body. So what they would do is they would do the HCG to shut that cycle so it introduced estrogen into the system and fool the system again. That's why I was drug-free. It's too much work. All right, ovary type. This is saddlebags on the thighs, buttocks, stomach, bad PMS, very cyclic acne, pain, mood swings, hormonal issues. You may know somebody like this, you may be somebody like this, or you may work with somebody like this. Not a pleasant person. Once again, and you can see this is kind of a whole, grouping here and very consistent throughout the thing. No bread, candy, or pop. We're talking processed food, especially bread. If you're going to get a sprouted Ezekiel bread, great. But even if you're getting gluten-free, I have patients tell me, oh yeah, I'm gluten-free. Well, that doesn't mean you're eating calorie-free. You're still eating calories. It just doesn't have gluten in it. My mom had a big argument with me one time because she was eating potato chips. And I'm like, Mom, that has fat in it. She goes, no, it doesn't. It says 100% cholesterol-free. I said, that just means it doesn't have animal fat in it, but it still has fat in it. So I had to teach her how to read a label, which I will do for you, and you may know how, and I'm just going to reconfirm that so you can teach somebody else. So, these are all things we need to keep out of the diet. Ovary type especially, estrogen sources of commercial meats, dairy, and eating from plastic. I mean, I don't even have time to go into the eating with plastic. I may try to touch on that in my last one. I'm redoing my 4th week just to give you some more chemical things that we're exposed to so you can make some changes. This person wants to eat a lot of red vegetables and fruit, lots of cruciferous veggies because they want to balance the estrogen out. Whereas the thyroid, it throws the estrogen off. 50 to 75 grams of protein to increase fat burning, and hormone-free butters, raw cheese, milk, and cream, and kelp. So if you're eating a lot of seaweed or sushi. So, high fructose corn syrup. Now, we know about this, we hear about this. I'm going to tell you the dangers of this, okay? So, high fructose corn syrup. Now, if you go home tonight, unless you've cleaned out your refrigerator, open up your refrigerator door, and in your door, I will bet that you have at least 2 things in there that have high fructose corn syrup. Minimum 2, maybe more. And if they're in there, get them out. There's alternatives. One will be ketchup, and the other will be some type of dressing. You need to read the label, okay? This is genetically modified for you. It's so much sweeter. It's a half fructose corn syrup and 45% glucose. 73 grams per day is what the typical person gets from sweetened drinks. And if you've been in my office and have seen my display, I actually count out the sugar that's in the bottles. And a Mountain Dew has 19 teaspoons of sugar in it. And it's not sugar, it's high fructose corn syrup. I just did it because people, I didn't, if I put high fructose corn syrup, they don't really get that, but they understand the sugar thing. 25% of the people actually consume more than 130 grams of this a day. This is why we have a weight problem. This is why our kids are so hefty these days. The very product that most people rely on to lose weight, the low-fat diet foods, are the very ones high in fructose. Remember the snack wells? But, the cookies were like this big. It says you can have 4 cookies and they're like as big as your thumb. Well, they're loaded in high fructose corn syrup, so you don't get the fat in them. It's not the fat that makes you fat, it's the sugar. So if you don't take one thing away, please take that away. It's not the fat that makes you fat, it's the sugar. So 2 reasons for all this and why it's so damaging. 1, your body has to metabolize fructose in a much different way than glucose. Glucose is naturally found in the body. Everybody produces it, plants produce it, animals produce it, and it's where we get our energy, so we have to have it. But it puts a tremendous burden on your liver, because your liver has to metabolize all of that. And so that's where we get the belly fat. Remember the discount double check? That's where that comes from, is that high fructose corn syrup. And we've all had it because we didn't know better. So I'm telling you, so you have to do better. The other thing is people are consuming enormous quantities of it. I have a patient that came in and he in my Eustis office, and he saw my Mountain Dew. He goes, I drink 2 or 3 of those a day, and it's a 20-ounce bottle. So that's, almost 60 spoons of sugar a day. That doesn't count whatever else he's eating. And if he's drinking Mountain Dew, he's eating other foods that are not good for him. So, and this may not be you, but you'd be surprised at how sugar, slides into your diet. Look at your labels. So, it has as much, negative effect that they don't even know what the effect is at this point. It's mind-boggling. So these are all the foods that you'll see it in, like your cereals. I used a big Campbell's tomato soup fan. Big. I mean, I could just have that for dinner until I knew better. Once I found out it had high fructose corn syrup, I'm like, crap. But I'm not going to put it in my system. You know, I can make my own soup, and I almost make it. And you can Google, remember the verb Google. You can go online and Google how to make tomato soup like Campbell's. And you can find it, and it'll taste almost exactly like it, but better. So, you know, here's what, you know, if you look at gallon-wise, there's 5.5 gallons of sugar or high fructose corn syrup a day. It's actually 6.5 gallons now of high fructose corn syrup that people are eating today. And then that's genetically modified, so you have the double whammy. So we're genetically modifying our DNA of our kids and the kids of kids now. I mean, you see kids that are, you know, they're obese when they're born because the fact that they didn't have a chance. So, you know, it's kind of scary. So read your labels. So 55% of the sweeteners used in food and beverage are usually made from corn. Well, they're all made from corn, most of them. Number one source of calories in soda is high fructose corn syrup. And now Coke is making a new one. You can get my patient X, who we'll talk about, he gets it every once in a while from Mexico because it's made with real sugar. I'm like, it's not any better. It just doesn't have high fructose corn syrup. It still has sugar in it, and a ton of it. So, you know, not so good. So here's the formula. 1 can of soda a day is 150 calories. 365 days a year plus 3,500 calories, which equals a pound. That's 15 pounds a year that we put on. So we started with, in the early 1915, with only 6.5 ounce bottles. You know, so that year they only put on 8 pounds a year. Then we went up to 10 ounce bottles, and then they put on 13. And then we went up to 1960, we had 12 ounces, and that's 16 pounds. Now we've got 44 ounces and 20 ounces. Now we're 26 pounds a year, and that doesn't count the super big. Now we have the super big gulp. You know, I mean, I was in the store getting gas, and I went in to get a water, and it was like a thermos. I mean, like a cooler with a handle on it. And the guy's just filling it up, and you know what he looked like. I mean, you know, he had the big pot gut, the crease in his ear, which lets me know he's, you know, a heart attack person. You know that. A crease in the ear means, you know, susceptible to having a heart attack. Mostly men will have that, not women. So, you know, we call this the Coca-Cola conspiracy. You checking it?
I'm checking.
You have one, but it's because you're old.
Thank you.
I'm just kidding you.
You're so sweet.
You know that. I'm so high fructose corn syrup, right? So we call this the Coca-Cola conspiracy because over the time they changed the sugar out. So you know what else about high fructose corn syrup? It's addicting. We're so addicted to, you know, and I noticed you probably noticed that when you started going off your caffeine or cutting down or cutting out of your sugar or the other things I tell you to cut down, it was hard because it didn't taste sweet to you. Well, after you get off the detox, if you're not doing a whole lot of fruit, you'll notice things taste a lot sweeter without anything. Like carrots, like organic carrots are very sweet. If you steam them or roast them a little bit or saute them a little bit in the pan, it brings out the sugar in them. Beets are very sweet. So Splenda. Now, some of you already made their changes, but let me just talk to you about Splenda. I was a Splendic. You know, I did it, and when I learned and knew better, I did better, so I don't use it anymore. I do use stevia. I don't use this anymore, but when I found out about it, I was just shocked because, you know, on the box it says it's made from sugar, so it tastes like sugar. But it's not. It's not even close to being sugar. And, you know, it comes from, it's actually sucralose, which is, we call it two letters fatter than sucrose, which is what table sugar is. And it's produced by substituting 3 chlorine atoms for 3 hydroxyl groups. So it's one molecule less than chlorine. That's scary right there. European countries where national health care programs are prominent don't even approve it for use. And we're complaining about, you know, Obamacare and socialized medicine. I'm not going to get into politics, but, you know, here's, you know, Europe, who has socialized medicine, saying, don't do that. You're not even going to put it in our foods. Japanese Food Sanitation Council says that 40% of the ingested sucralose is absorbed and can concentrate in the liver, kidney, and gastrointestinal tract, having a negative effect on overall health. I mean, I was like a 6-pack Splenda a day because I'd have 2 cups and I'd put 3 in there because I wanted it sweet. I don't do that anymore. So the other evidence is it changes the flora of our intestine. You want our GI, who wants to be, you know, the pH, we want it very alkaline. It raises the pH in our feces, so we got toxic waste, you know, absorbing all that and then staying in our system. And they found that changes occur in doses of 1.1 to 1 milligrams, which is what a packet size is. A packet size is, that's 1.5 packets of sucralose, Splenda a day. So that means that it's entirely reasonable that this could have changed the effect of a person in a very short term. So 1.1 milligrams is about 75 milligrams of sucralose for a 150-pound adult, which is a pack and a half packs of Splenda a day, 1.5 packs of Splenda a day. That's a lot. And that's, it just cracks me up because on the box, if you read it, that's what it says. And we all know what that means. You know what that means? Can you see that? You know what that means?
Oh, what?
Yeah.
No.
Rolling on the floor, laughing my ass off. Okay. My dad, at 80, learning to text, he would say, GD, and I'm like, Dad? He goes, what? I was just saying good day. And I'm like, no. So we taught him, we sent him the old person's, BBF, I won't go into this. All right, so we have 2 doctors in here. So look at this and tell me 3 of the top 3 dangers of sugar, disease-wise. Diabetes is one. Heart disease, give me one more. Heart disease, obesity, diabetes. So that's why our nation looks like this. This is Disney World. Go to Disney World, you can tell the Europeans from the Americans. The Europeans are sharing a meal between 3 of them, and the Americans are walking around with a big turkey leg, and the big gulp. Or no, they get the drink that you can refill all day, the free soda all day long. Awesome. Job security for me. Thank you very much. So heart disease. So I wanted to kind of talk to you about this because, I try to teach my patients all this in a short office visit, and it's impossible. So you guys get the benefit of this. So heart disease, it's really because of excessive refined carbohydrates. It's the major cause of heart disease. And there is, a lot of controversy about this, but they're finding out that cholesterol is the number one, public enemy number one, but medical doctors are now finding out, shock to the world, that they're telling, before they've been telling us to stay away from all these kind of foods, eggs, bacon, all that stuff, because it's going to make your cholesterol high. Crapola. Because it's not really the cholesterol, it's not the perpetrator. It's the found at the scene, but it's not the cause of the high cholesterol. It's the sugar. So Dr. Stephen Sinatra wrote a book called The Great Cholesterol Myth, and it's readable for everybody in here. It's a little bit techie, medi kind of stuff, but I think everybody could understand it. But the 3 conclusions are that sugar damages your arteries, increases your blood sugar, and ages your organs. I got to fix that typo. Ages your organs. So in this era of what age we are, we want to look good, we want to last longer. We're right there that's not going to happen if we're eating all that sugar, and that's why our population is dying so young, is because they're eating themselves to death. I'm sure who said it. I've heard it many times, but they say that eating whatever you put in your mouth is either an act of nutrition or an act of suicide, because you're either putting it to feed your body or you're going to put it in there and you're going to kill your body. And we only get one. So he said that if cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease, what does? And Sinatra said that, it's eating too much sugar is at the top of the list for inflammation. So he recommends a kind of this, and this is the paleo type diet. See, I'll let you have your coffee. And if you've never tried coconut oil in like tea, a spoonful of coconut oil, try it. It makes it really rich. There's a teaspoon of it. It'll melt in there, and it gives it a really. I was skeptic, and I try everything. I'm a Mikey, so if I like it, it's got to be good. So he's advising to replace with more of the veggies, a little bit of chicken and fish, easy on the protein, a lot of berries or your fruits coming from berries, lower in the glycemic index, some cheeses, some nuts, some cream, butter, real cream. Our great-grandparents and maybe our great-great-great-grandparents didn't have the problems we have today. Not that we didn't know about them, but they were eating, lard. And I remember my grandmother would have the pan of lard sitting on the oven, and they would use that. Well, the cows weren't injected like they are today. The eggs were picked out. They got them at the, out in the backyard, and they were all natural. And the cows didn't have a bunch of hormones in them when they made the milk. And they made the cream from the milk or the butter from the milk. So, and you can find those things, even in Publix, even though they messed up their Greenwise section. What I do is I walk into Publix with black pants on and these. And you should see people scatter. It's awesome. But they ruined the green-wise section. So I went in there one day with this on because, well, with my darker black pants, because then you look like you work there. And I'm walking up down the the aisles, and I've got people following me now. And I'm pulling stuff, looking at labels, and putting my hand and shaking my head. And it's really, it's kind of, you should do it. It's fun. So, they are, they took our green-wise section away, which makes it a little bit more difficult. They blended it through the whole store, so it's a little harder to find. But you can get, they do have organic. Organic Valley has organic milk and organic butter, so don't be afraid to use butter. I'm not saying use the whole stick of butter, but don't be afraid to use butter. So your unsaturated fats like your nuts, avocados, fish oil, and those are what make you satiated. Those are what keep you full, so you're not hungry. People who stayed on the low-fat diets, well, they're mad because they're hungry. And vegans, I mean, I'm not offending any vegans, but they're angry because they can't eat anything. And you can be a vegan and have Coke and Oreo cookies, and you're going to be a vegan. So being a vegan does not necessarily mean you're being healthy. Or all my vegans, they eat bread. So they're all, a vegan should be, if they're a true vegan, they should be fairly lean. But you see a chubby vegan, and you know that they're eating bread is their main course of their, yeah. So, and then, that's just a kind of an oxymoronic statement as a chubby vegan, all right? So, we kind of went over this last time. This is 2013. I found this map, and you can see just, we're at 35%. Remember the other one was 30 to 35? Now this map shows in 2013, because we don't have 2014 out, 35% or higher. And as you notice, us deep south folk, not Florida so bad because we've got a lot of transplants down here, but they're eating. They think it's cheaper to eat processed food. They say it's expensive to eat good food. It's not really. If you're eating good food, you're not as hungry because you're actually feeding your body. So I poo-poo that all the time. So the problem is the increase in sugar. Sugar makes fat storage, so if a sugar molecule is very big in the hydrogens and carbons. And so when we eat it, it's big and chunky. And when we eat it, unless you're going to utilize it and you're going to go run a marathon right away, your body says, well, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? So I have an idea. I'm going to break it down into nice, neat little packages called fat. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to put it here. Because it's going to store it because you don't need it. It's like standing there putting gas in your car, and the gas tank is full, and you're still pumping the gas in, and it's just flowing all over the place. That's what happens when you eat too much sugar. It just flows all over the place in the form of fat. So it drives the fat storage, and then, like I said, it signals the brain to say, oh, you're hungry. And it sets up that vicious cycle because you're not getting fed, you're not feeding the body what it needs. Fructose is another component of this, and one of the two most popular sugars, sucrose being the other. And the combination of the two is just deadly. And we know that already that the high fructose corn syrup is just ubiquitous. I love that word, ubiquitous in sodas. I mean, that's just where it is. And diet sodas aren't any better. So diabetes, most types of diabetes, there's 3 people in here that cannot get this kind of gestational diabetes. You have to be pregnant. And I think there's several of us here that won't ever get that anyway because we're past that, maybe one of us. But type 2 diabetes is caused by us 99% of the time. I have one patient that she's kind of like Portuguese and grew up eating vegetables, and it's just a genetic flaw in their family. But they're always on, worried about her, but she's just changed her diet, and she does have to do some support. So this is where we have kids that are being born diabetic, not with type 1, but acquiring type 2 very early in life because we're causing it. The several populations, especially your poor populations, are going to be that way because they think it's, cheaper to eat here. And they, if you look when you get your Publix, I'm going to get a name tag, I think. When you get your Publix or any of your grocery shopping, that's just where we go, and you open it up, all the BOGOs are the crap stuff. I can never get a deal there because they don't have 2-for-1 spinach, or rarely. It's always 2-for-1 Snicker bars or 2-for-1 cereals that you're not going to eat anyway. So, it really sets us up to be in that range. And the government, actually funds all the corn production. So we can technically blame it on the government because they're making us fat. So we can blame somebody, okay? So, the association between sugar consumption and type 2 diabetes, we thought was just, from the weight gain. But they're finding out that it's directly linked to sugar. And that's scary. So that's why I want you to read your labels. And this is another study that just said that revealing that added sugar and high fructose corn syrup are the biggest contributors to obesity and diabetes. And obesity and diabetes are hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, just about. I mean, on a rare occasion. So here's my little caveat for you. This is kind of how I think about it. If it came from a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't. All right? So my saying that I always say, if you don't take care of your body, where will you live? You only get one body. You know, we can't do like our car and go trade it in on a new model. Nordstrom's is back ordered on new models, so you can't get one anyway. So any questions? How did everybody do the first week? Good? Any problems?
Oh, I had a problem. First day we did it, which was Tuesday.
Right?
Someone as a gift delivered a dozen of those fancy cupcakes to my office.
Freeze them.
I did. I took 3 and then I told everyone else to eat the rest
Yeah.
of them.
I mean, you can
That
always...
was a problem because that was...
Well, you know, we've got Halloween coming up, so there's candy around, and you know, you may have a couple kids. You know, you have like you know you had 2 kids last year, but you may have more. So you buy the bags of stuff that you like. That way, you know, if the kids don't come, then you can take care of it. You know, so you know, take that stuff to work, give it to somebody else, or just don't buy it. You know, we can't give the kids apples and you know stuff we used to because of all the trash now. But you know, and I give the kids pennies. They look at me like, right, lady? What about quarters or dimes? Any other questions? Yes.
What's the difference between why do we have to have raw almonds? Why can't we have roasted almonds?
If you get some organic roasted almonds, usually like if you buy the ones that are in the store that are roasted, they're crap almonds. You don't know what's been sprayed on them. You know, you don't know where they're coming from. And you know, you can roast them yourself.
Okay.
I mean, I get organic roasted stuff also. I mean, I'll do a lot of raw stuff, but if you take like raw almonds and soak them overnight, and soak them in water overnight, and they kind of get big, and it kind of changes the taste of them. And I make we call it cheese with a Z, a pimento cheese with a Z, and I make it with a red pepper and cashews and a little bit of garlic, and it tastes just like pimento cheese. I mean, it's shocking. Well, you tasted it, didn't you, at the end of the detox last time? Did you do the one in January? I made the quiche. Remember the creams that we put on top? That was made out of just red pepper and cashew. So there's ways you can do it. But if you do organic, fine.
And then I was looking at coconut water,
Right?
and some have, 9 grams of sugar,
Right.
and some have 19. What is the difference? Why is there such?
Because they're adding sugar, and it depends on if you're getting something. Yeah, sorry. Oh, the question is, the coconut oil, the coconut water, the difference between being 9 grams of sugar to being 19 grams of sugar is who produces it, who makes it. You know, if it's a fancy label or Del Monte or somebody that we all know, they're going to load it up with sugar and all the cheap stuff, or maybe some high fructose corn syrup in there. You have to read the label. Does it say added sugar? That would be the thing.
I didn't notice that it did.
It'll be the it'll say it in really tiny lettering. You have to look for it.
Okay.
But if it says sugar on there, most likely they've added the sugar. Because it's like if it's sugar from a banana, it's going to be a different sugar. It's going to be a dietary sugar. That's different. Your body will process it a little different. It's still sugar, but it's a lot different than adding sugar to it, and that's the danger. I mean, just teaching you to read labels, and we'll do that next week. You'll go, oh my gosh, now you. I mean, I'm no fun in a store because I take forever because I'm like, look at this, and I'm doing a segment tomorrow over at the Casa Feliz for a women's group that we're putting on, and I'm talking about sugar. And I went to the store, and I'm buying all these things, that have sugar in them, and I'm going to make them measure it out themselves, because you don't realize. And these are foods that everybody eats, like ketchup. Even though I got the ketchup without high fructose corn syrup, it's still loaded with sugar. A tablespoon of ketchup, has 1 teaspoon of sugar in it. And we don't, that's where that little bit of sugar comes through. They're saying no more than 16 grams of sugar a day. Well, 1 teaspoon of sugar is 4 grams. So you can calculate it up. That's how we do it. Question?
Yeah, would you talk about sweet leaf?
Okay, the stevia. Okay, sweet leaf stevia, and that's one of the. I don't like to take up too much of your time to go into an extensive sugar talk, and maybe I should do a dinner with a doc, and we'll do something like that. But stevia is what you want to use. You want to read the label, because some of them will have erythritol, which is a sugar alcohol, and some are highly processed, and so they're not much better. So you want to get the sweet leaf, and then there's I can't remember the other one. Sweet leaf. Look at sugar in the raw, stevia in the raw. I think that one is okay, but you have to read it.
I have
you know,
that one, but I'm going to read the label.
read the label. I was just in the store and in my green Publix shirt, and I was reading labels, and there was somebody breathing down my back, so I kind of moved on. But I was looking for things. Publix has it, yeah. And you want to make sure that they're not mixed with Splenda, or they don't have anything else. Some of the things are highly processed. Yes.
I got a 6-year-old.
Right.
I did buy that simple ketchup, and I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
Right.
Well, he's 6,
Yeah.
How can
Well,
I make? I could make
well, you could.
ketchup,
I mean,
still have to sweeten it up.
but if you're going to do something more organic. Make a better selection, so you don't get the high fructose corn syrup. Get an organic version and do it that way. I mean,
If I buy an organic, it'll have stevia.
maybe not. Maybe it may have a little bit of sugar, but not as much sugar. But we're teaching them to love the sugar.
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem. So if your kids are wanting ketchup and things with sugar, we're the ones training them to want it. People think of taking the kids to McDonald's as a treat. That's like an act of suicide, for the kid. Take them to a park, and McDonald's does it. I'm not putting anybody down, but the Golden Arches does it great. They have the indoor playground, and they smell the French fries, and they get that smell in there, so it trains their brain. Play French fries. Oh, I got to put together, and that puts together forever. I mean, people still. I can tell you, I've never eaten a McDonald's hamburger. The only thing I've had from McDonald's is I had one bite of an Egg McMuffin, and I spit it out because it was tastes like rubber. I did have a pancake from there. I did have a frozen yogurt from there. I've tasted maybe one French fry, but I'm not a big fan of that stuff, so I have never done that. Burger King the same. So, I mean, I didn't drink the Kool-Aid.
No fun at all.
I'm no fun.
Try another one. What's about your freeze-dried tomatoes?
They're organic. You could just go Whole Foods or Chamberlain's will have them. And the ones that are in the store have a lot of nitrates on them.
Oh, okay.
So,
Even if they're organic at Publix?
check the label. It'll say nitrates on them. Dave, yes?
I'm excited about day 11, by the way.
Oh, good, good.
But I'm not a big fish fan. My favorite fish is mahi.
Right.
Is mahi a
Yeah, you can have
deep-sea
mahi.
fish?
It's not a deep sea fish, but you can have it.
Can you give us other examples as far as deep-sea fish?
I wouldn't do something like tilapia. Those are mostly farm raised. So make sure it's wild catch. Swordfish, sea bass, grouper, any of those are mostly fresh caught. They're not farm raised. Salmon nowadays is farm raised. They feed them pellets to get them to turn pink. Yeah, they ruin everything.
Scallops and shrimp.
Well, you want to be careful because some of those are farm raised also. A lot of the shrimp, it'll say farm raised here in Florida. So you want to be careful. They're bottom feeders, so use them sparingly. Save them more for after the detox. I mean, I've done shrimp on the detox, and honestly, I don't really do a whole lot of protein. I may do some eggs, and I may do some fish, I may do some chicken, but not all the time, not every meal. Maybe one meal every other day, or maybe eggs in the morning and a fish the next night, and I kind of randomly do that. So your fish you want to do, or you can do halibut, any of those, cod, any of those fish, and you just want to make sure they're not farm raised. The cheaper it is, the more farm raised it's likely to be. Okay?
I think Publix has it frozen.
Yeah, they have a frozen that's fresh caught. Yeah. And they serve them in nice 2 packets that are freeze dried, and it's done well. So, I mean, you have choices, just make the good ones. And everybody seems like they're doing it. Everybody lost weight? Good, good, make me proud. I'll have to pit this group against my other group.
Did you mix the shake, the water, it was half water and half coconut water or
Coconut milk. I use unsweetened coconut milk. So I do my shake a half of, and I put up a couple, I did a green mango shake the other day on the other one. So friend me, I'll create a secret group for us, and then I'll invite you to enter the group, and then it'll be private so that nobody else can come in. And for those of you who are on Facebook, talk to Ruth. Ruth will give you the lowdown.
How fun.
So, I printed recipes on this. So what I do with my shake, half a cup of water, half a cup of coconut milk unsweetened. I put my powders in, my seeds in, and then I put my fruit in last. So the fruit is on top, and when I turn it over, it's at the blade. That way, my powder doesn't get caked around the blade, but it doesn't anyway. And then I throw, like I said, when my spinach starts to get a little bit wrong, where I wouldn't eat it as a salad, I throw the whole bag in the freezer, and it's like spinach flakes. And I do that with kale also. And so, like yesterday morning, I made half a cup of water, half a cup of coconut milk, all my seeds, my 2 powders, a handful of kale, frozen kale, handful of frozen spinach, piece of a banana, half a cup of mangoes, and blended that, and it was really nice. It's pretty color, and so it was easy to make, and it was, because I get to the point where I don't want it too sweet, because as your taste changes, it'll taste tremendously sweet. So I try to sweet it down. I don't really have a good green shake for you. I mean, just green. One of my other class did one, so I'll get that recipe, and it sounds really good. I like, we have a place that does it, Living Green, and they're closed right now, but they put orange juice in theirs, which I don't like. If you squeeze a fresh orange in there, that would be okay. But they use a little bit of ginger, which makes it a little spicy. And they use a little bit of coconut milk and kale and spinach and celery and a little piece of apple, and they blend it all up, and it's quite tasty. And I put my protein powder in there, so it makes it quite tasty. But I'll give you some recipes on that.
The unsweetened coconut milk.
Correct.
Does that have 0 sugar?
You know,
They have about 6 grams.
it may
That's
have
the-
it may
that's
have
the
about
best I can
4 or
find.
5 grams. There's one called
Yeah.
So Delicious, and it's in a box.
Yeah, that's what
Oh, it
Yeah,
is?
yeah, it's in a box, so it'll be in the milk aisle.
Did you get it
I
at
couldn't find it.
Publix.
I did too, but then I went to my Publix and they have it all split up and I couldn't find
Yeah,
it.
it's in the milk section now.
It's in the milk.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they've got a couple different alternatives. They usually have silk coconut milk,
Yeah,
but they have one that's unsweetened,
yeah.
but they have one that has sugar in it too. One is 45 calories, and that's the unsweetened. The one that's 60 calories is the sugar. Yeah.
You
Yes.
would have the 100% organic, coconut water, right? Because that would be just coconut water.
If it's just coconut water and there's nothing else added in, no sugar, go ahead and have that. It's not, I mean, be careful because it's got a lot of calories in it. I use it sparingly. Don't use it in place of water. Don't use that for half your water and then
No,
coconut
like
milk.
After a class, like yoga, whatever.
Okay,
it's
yeah,
nice
fine,
to-
yeah.
How about, can you have too much of protein?
Well, I limit it to about half your body weight in grams. So you should be getting about, if you eat every day you'll be getting half your body weight in grams. I stay at about, on the detox, maybe 25, 30, well, maybe 40 grams is what I do. A little bit less than I normally do. And I do the whey protein powder. And you can get protein from vegetables. This is really hard. I mean, it's just hard because you have to combine foods, and it's a lot of beans, so that's a lot of heaviness, and it's hard to digest beans. You have to soak your beans overnight and make sure they're prepared that way so don't cause gas and all that kind of stuff. So I just don't do it. I'm not a big lentil fan, so. But if you like them, use them. I mean, there's all kind of recipes. You can make a hamburger patty with lentils. Make a lentil burger, and it's quite good. I've had it. I just I'm not prone to make that. Any other questions?
One last one. Organic coffee, if we were to get organic coffee, would that be allowed?
On the
Not
detox?
now.
Oh, yes, afterwards, yeah. And if you want to do a decaf, make sure it's water. There's a water processing to decaf a coffee, because normal decaf coffee, they use chlorine, chlorine to detox it. To decaffeinate it. So that's why you don't want to do just regular decaf. So if you're going to get a decaf, get a water. I can't remember the term, but it's a water decaf coffee. You Google it. That's your homework. Any other questions? All right, well, you're doing awesome. Remember, change your pills starting tomorrow, I believe. This is your last day on your 6th day, so day 7's tomorrow. So on day 8, you'll change your pills. And you'll have like 2 or 3 SP Cleanse